Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. If you're one of my regular viewers, you're going to discover there's a theme going on here. Okay, so I just covered Metallica's Load and Reload. Those were the two concerts I have seen from Metallica. I saw the tours for both of those, for both Load and Reload. Poor touring me and poor retouring me. All right, I'm going to see Metallica again, which is why I was inspired to do this. I'm also going to go see, and that's in 2023, November of 2023. Before that, in May of 2023, I'm going to go see Helloween, which is why I just covered Keeper of the Seven Keys as my last review. Now it's Alice Cooper time to fit my normal, regular format. And now that it's Alice Cooper time, I figured I'm not going to go do an album that I saw Alice go do live, the tour for, because I've covered quite a few of those albums already. But, I'm going to cover a live album instead. The Alice Cooper Show. Okay, so Alice Cooper has done two official live albums. There's the Alice Cooper Show and A Fistful of Alice. Also sometimes known as Cabo 96, I think, or Live at Cabo, depending. Okay, so A Fistful of Alice. The reason why Alice released that album is he personally said he was never happy with this album. And the reason why is this album was never originally intended to be recorded live. What happened was Kiss had released Double Live, or Kiss Alive, which was the Double Live album. Other bands and artists had started releasing live albums, which were all doing huge. So the record company said, Alice, you need to do a live tour. And they threw Alice back out on tour after they had just come in from tour. They were all burnt out. They really didn't want to go back out on tour again. And I believe they did 3 shows specifically to record this one. Now, there are definitely a lot of flaws with this. This touring band and this recording, this album was released in 77. I'm taking it as this was recorded during the 77 tour, not the 76 tour, even though it may have been recorded in part in 76, but my understanding is there wasn't much of a 76 tour because after Goes to Hell was released, Alice Cooper had some major laryngitis issues, so they could never do the tour that he wanted to do for it, and they couldn't go out and do the tour properly. Whereas Lace and Whiskey was released in 77, and we have tracks from Lace and Whiskey on here, specifically You and Me, which I will come back to. So I'm considering this to be from the 77 tour, and I'm going to get back around to that at the end. Let's get into this, okay? Just right into the album. The album opens up with Under My Wheels. Now, this one has kind of like a whirlwind blender kind of effect going into Under My Wheels. Like you hear a little, and then you hear the phone ring, and you hear the band kicking with a. Okay, it's basically, it sounds like a tornado's dropping you right into the middle of the concert. Now, the song right off the bat seems a little bit fast. I've seen it live enough times myself to notice the spike in the tempo. Even for being live, there's a spike in the tempo. And I'm going to come back to this. It's actually going to come up a few times as I go through here. Now, one thing I also want to point out here is Alice is not typically known for doing long live concerts. Usually it's 90 minutes tops. In his own words, he finds that when he used to try and push the concerts out to 2 hours, that the stage show itself would kind of start falling apart. If you ever want evidence of this, go watch the Trashes the World tour. That one runs closer to 2 hours, and it doesn't have the same theatrical to it because there's too many songs in there that weren't theatrical enough or couldn't be worked in properly. And yeah, you could put every one of Alice's theatrical songs together in one show. That would be brutal on Alice. Even when he was younger, like if you ever watched the Welcome to My Nightmare concert, which I'm going to bring up a couple times as we go through this. If you ever watched the Welcome to My Nightmare concert, and you really should, there's a lot of theatrics throughout the whole entire thing, and that was really hard. Like, they always talk about how hard that concert and that tour was. They did something like 126 shows or something like that, and by the end of it, everybody was just, they had all lost weight, they were all tired, they were all burnt out. It was really, really a hard and difficult tour, which I believe is why Alice has never done anything the full likes of that again. I mean, I've seen him enough times to see him do some really good tours. The most recent one had some great theatrics going on, but you're still not hitting the level of what he did in 1974 and 75. Okay, going off topic here. Now, the reason why I bring all this up is this album is only 40 minutes long. The average Alice Cooper show is, I would say it's safe to say the average Alice Cooper show is about 80 minutes, like I said, up to 90. So this is, best case scenario, half of what your regular Alice Cooper show would be, automatically. And once again, I'm going to get back to this at the end. But this is kind of important to remember as I'm going through here, because there's only 11 tracks on here. And one of the tracks really barely counts as a track, okay? So, but okay. This is not a good representation of the Coop Live. Moving on. We get on to 18. 18, I personally, I have played this song live myself multitudes of times. I have played this song in general more times than ever. Like, I actually don't enjoy playing this song anymore. I don't know how Alice is played it every show, every tour, all these years, because I couldn't do it, man. Oh my God, I could not do this song every show, every tour for, well, the song at this point is over 50 years old. You know, so, wow, you know, Coop points for that one. This version, I actually prefer the original version compared to this live version. This live version, it's pretty close to the version that's played into the Welcome to My Nightmare tour. It's basically the exact same band as far as I know of, but it's not the original band, and the solos sound a lot more like guitar masturbation instead of running along with the song. There's a difference definitely between the way that Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter play the guitar parts on this song, because I believe those are the two that should be playing on this album, and the way that Glenn Buxton and Michael Bruce used to play it, which would be the two originals. If you ever watch the Good to See You Again Alice Cooper concert, which is the $1 Billion Babies tour, you'd be able to see what I'm talking about with that. After 18, we go into Only Women Bleed. I'm not a fan of this song for a variety of reasons. I've never, any version of this song, I'm just not a fan of this song. But when it comes to this version, again, we're talking, it feels sped up. In this case, it almost feels rushed. Like they had to play it, didn't want to play it, but were forced to play it. You know, let's get it over, done with, and get the hell out of here. The other possibility is they sped up the tape. And I will come back to that at the very end. All right. The speeding up the tape thing is an actual thing, but it takes a little talking. All right. After that, we go into Sick Things. 59 seconds. 59 seconds of Sick Things. That's it, man. Shouldn't even count as a real track on here. I don't know why they bothered to put it on at 59 seconds. All you get is basically a smidge of a musical intro. Not even, because if you know anything about the song Sick Things, which I've actually, when I covered the $1 Billion Babies album, I even show, you know, how simple it is to play on bass. One of the reasons I love it. I've played this song myself live. I don't know how many times. I've honestly lost count of how many times live I've played this song. And to have it cut down to 59 seconds and basically just do the first verse and get the hell out of the song, it's heartbreaking, especially considering there was 5 extra minutes of space on this album. So now I've seen Alice live, and when Alice plays live, there's a lot of times where he will do Sick Things and he does the first verse and the first chorus, and that's it. That's still more than 59 seconds. Only because I like this. And keep this whole cutting thing in mind because I'm going to come back to it just like the tape speed up. All right, now we're on to Is It My Body? First off, I love this song. Who doesn't love this song? This is a great song. But, and it's one of those songs I actually regret never actually taking seriously with playing live. You know, I've jammed around on it quite a few times over the years and stuff like that, but never done anything serious with it. And I kind of regret that because when my band was up, you know, when the Howling Odyssey was up and running full tilt, our bassist, she used to do a great version of it karaoke. And I always wanted to bring it into the band, and just for some reason, she always kind of pushed back a little bit. But once again, this version feels a little too fast. This is one of those songs that, if you ever really listen to it, it's got a slow, almost sleazy kind of sound to it. You know, like it's barflies, it's dingy, it's dirty, it's everything that is actually rock and roll. This version, on the other hand, whereas instead of it's, you know, guys, you know, pulls up to him, hey, what have I got? Makes you want to love me, you know, getting all sleazy and dirty. This version feels more like a couple that just did a couple of lines in the bathroom, and, you know, dude trying to talk her into going shagging in the stall, you know. Like, what have I got? Makes you want to love me. You know, it picks up the tempo too much. And the funny part is about the joke about the doing lines is Alice wasn't doing that yet. This is 77. We had at least 2 more years before that started up. A year? 2 years? I know that started up when they started working on the From the Inside album after he came off the alcohol. Trade one drug for another. Okay. Moving on. Watch the Super Duper Alice Cooper documentary. Gets into great detail about that. Okay, so after Is It My Body, we go into I Never Cry. Oh, shit. Okay, so I got Only Women Bleed. It's one ballad from the 70s out of the way. Now we're on to the second ballad from the 70s. Personally, for me, I Never Cry is like the worst song off the Goes to Hell album. It's one of those songs that only became a song because it was the ballad. This one also, once again, they speed it up, and they seem to like cut it in half. It only clocks in like 2.5 minutes. Oh, I mean, which is nice if you're me. But if you're gonna take the song and cut it that much and speed it up that much, and just leave it off the album. All right, then we're into $1 Billion Babies. Okay, so I've already covered a live version of $1 Billion Babies from this general time period. My review number 300, which was for a bunch of Alice Cooper collections, one of those was the Prince of Darkness collection, which covered songs from Raise Your Fist and Yell and Constrictor. But it had one live track on it, and that one live track is listed as being from 1976. I've heard disputes on whether or not it's actually from 1976, but that's what it's listed as, being from 1976. The thing is, theoretically, the drummer from 1976 would have been the same drummer in 1977. But the drumming does not sound the same. It does sound like two distinctly different drummers, which makes me wonder if possibly the drummer was switched out, or the drummer took more time to learn how to play it properly or closer to the original between 76 and 77, because the 76 version is played more like someone who's trying to get the hang of playing $1 Billion Babies, whereas the 77 version sounds like someone that is used to playing $1 Billion Babies. Interesting comparison, I think, that way. All right, after $1 Billion Babies, we get into Devil's Food Black Widow, one flowing in the other. This is very common. Alice still does it this way, or variations of it live. Alice very rarely plays Devil's Food live. I've heard Alice play Devil's Food in its entirety live once, and it was actually the alternate lyric version, which was really damn cool for a hardcore fan like me. Most regular fans wouldn't have realized it. I know all the hardcore fans, especially all my friends who, I'd beaten them over the head with this shit. All of them went nuts. Absolutely nuts when he pulled out the alternate version. That's not the case here. Here it is just Devil's Food. Little bit of the instrumental opening goes in the chorus of singing Devil's Food, and does that a few times, and then kind of fades into, in this case, the Vincent Price speech. So the band is actually doing their cool little jam-in instrumentation, guitar, noodling, stuff like that. It sounds really great. You actually get the tape recording of Vincent Price doing his thing where he's giving his little monologue speech. Leading left to the doctor, please don't touch the displays, little boy. Oh, cute. And moving on to the next aisle, we have the Arachnia. The spiders, our finest collection. Carrying on anyways. Going into Black Widow. Can't go wrong with this. I wish, honestly, that they did the Vincent Price speech more often when he does it live in the modern era. I think he's maybe played the speech once when I've seen them live. I don't. But I want to say no. Once again, I have seen both Devil's Food and Black Widow live, so, and also, this is pretty much exactly like the variation out of the Welcome to My Nightmare concert. Obviously, the Welcome to My Nightmare concert, they do a little more of actual Devil's Food, but that's about that. Then we go on to yet another frickin' ballad. Okay. I've mentioned on more than one occasion that I have a friend by the name of Don Richard. Lived with me for some time. Now, he was part of Dick Wagner's inner circle. And Dick Wagner was the guitarist for Alice Cooper, basically Welcome to My Nightmare, Goes to Hell, and then Lace and Whiskey. Thanks to my friendship with him, I've gotten to meet Alice and Dick, both of them on multiple occasions, sadly not at the exact same time. That's kind of a bummer. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Dick Wagner and his guitar skills. I've seen him play personally live, in his older years where he was, playing more slower blues, stuff like that. But actually, I've seen him jam around doing Black Widow and Devil's Food, and part of me is sad that I did not have the balls to ask if I could jump on drums and jam with him. That's me. I apologize. Especially since I'll never get the chance now. But I personally hold Dick responsible for all the damn ballad love songs during the 70s era. Oh my God. And have all three of them on this one live album with not enough of the cool tracks in between to bust it up sucks. Oh my God. My biggest bitch about this album is all three ballads should not have been on here. Not with it only being 11 songs. Okay, let me move on. From there, we go into a medley. I Love the Dead, Goes to Hell, Wish You Were Here. Now, the combo of Devil's Food, Black Widow makes complete and utter sense. That's basically how it flows on the original album. That is how it's always been presented live, one going into the other. It works. This one is a mix and it's all just kind of thrown together and spliced, and I'm going to explain why I'm saying that in a moment. I don't know why Wish You Were Here is on here, because, okay, let me start off with, I actually like this medley. As much as I'm bitching about it, I actually really like this medley, and this medley is actually my favorite thing off of this entire album. Having I Love the Dead Go to Hell makes complete and utter sense because you get the execution and then you got the post execution, right? So it makes total sense. Wish You Were Here kind of makes sense a little bit, but it's only an instrumental version of Wish You Were Here that's kind of tagged onto it. So you get the cool little lead up to, you get the first chorus of I Love the Dead, or the first verse of I Love the Dead, you get some of the chorus going on, and then it naturally kind of just blends and merges into Goes to Hell. And then that naturally just kind of cuts and blends into Wish You Were Here. Great combination. At 6 minutes, 31 seconds, I really enjoy it. My favorite part, like I said, of this album. But once again, 5 minutes extra left on this album to play with, and they rushed it. I'll come back after the next song. All right, then the album finishes off. Track 11, last song on here. Of course, it's going to be the last song on here. It's always the last song, pretty much. School's Out. Once again, I'm back to, I seriously would have thought they were all doing cocaine at this time period instead of, the From the Inside and into the 80s, early 80s, The tempo jump just really seems cranked up the whole way through this album. Which brings me up to some of the things I really want to address with this album. Now, I keep talking about the tempo speed up. I have enough experience in the industry, both on my own and working in, I went to school for journalism in the 90s, and one of the things we had to do was video production. And my own teacher in video production explained, he used to do the odd band music video, and he explained that, and as a musician, anybody who's a musician knows this, when you're a band, you always tend to play a little bit faster live. So when you're recording a music video that's basically just live, most of the time they use a little trick and they take the original recording and they speed the original recording up just a smidge live, or just a smidge, so it matches the live track. Because it used to be easier to speed up that than it was to try and tweak and speed down the speed of the video. Nowadays, you could probably find a good, because of digital and stuff like that, you could probably find an easy mix of the two. Now, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is when I keep talking about it sounds like they sped the tape up, it honestly sounds like they took the live recordings for this album. And let's say that the bass line was 120 beats per minute for this whole album. It sounds like they cranked up the speed to between 125 and 130 beats per minute, closer to 130 beats per minute, which would, one, stops it from, like, if you speed stuff up, you'll notice it starts getting a higher pitch. Okay, so at 125 to 130 beats per minute, so only 5 to 10 extra beats per minute, you're not going to get chipmunk effect. You're not going to get that high pitch, which is great. But what's going to happen is it's going to add this, like, tension, giant nervous tension that makes this whole recording almost sound like it's going to blow apart, which is, for live energy, is great. It captures that idea of live energy wonderfully. I think they did part of it to speed everything up a little bit, like, is why they also tended to cut some of the songs, specifically the Dead, Hell, Wish You Were Here combo. I think they cut and spliced it just to make it fit, so they had parts of all those songs on here to get people into it going, hey! But I grabbed a standard set list from 1977, okay? And this is how the standard set list from 1977 went, which shows how this album was even rearranged in ways that are kind of like, wow, it's not even a representation of the concert still. So this was your average set list from 77. Under My Wheels, Billion Dollar Babies, I'm 18, Sick Things, Isn't My Body, Devil's Food, Black Widow, You and Me, Only Women Bleed, Unfinished Sweet, Escape, I Love the Dead, Goes to Hell, I Never Cry, Wish You Were Here, It's Hot Tonight, Lay Some Whiskey, King of the Silver Screen, School's Out. So, You and Me would have went into Only Women Bleed. That could have been a lot better on here if they had medleyed it out that way, if they had cut and spliced the two so they medleyed into each other. That would have worked a hell of a lot better and got two of the ballads out of the way instead of giving them each individual tracks. Oh my God, that pisses me off. I Love the Dead, Goes to Hell. As I said, those two belong together. They work well together in a live set list. Makes sense. But you notice they don't finish it with Wish You Were Here. They've got I Never Cry in there and then Wish You Were Here. I Never Cry makes sense after Goes to Hell. And then I Never Cry going into Wish You Were Here makes sense. Not represented on here. That would have been a great flow through on here. They didn't do it. This album was produced by Brian Christian and Bob Ezrin. And I think they screwed this up. I really, really think they screwed this up, and this could have and should have been done better. I think even if they had gone closer, like I said, 5 extra minutes they had to play with. They had a whole 5 extra minutes to play with. 2.5 minutes per side, okay? They had made it more like this set list, okay? Under My Wheels, you can leave out $1 Billion Babies, okay? But they didn't leave out $1 Billion Babies, they just threw it later in the album. So Under My Wheels, $1 Billion Babies, I'm 18. That's a fire to start this off. Sick Things being a minute, yeah, probably was about a minute. Might have gone a little bit longer. Going into Is It My Body? Now, the whole reason for Sick Things going in Is It My Body, that's actually a standard live thing, and that's to bring out the snake, the boa constrictor. Because he always sings Is It My Body to the boa constrictor, which is beautiful. Well, he doesn't do it anymore. He used to do it all the time. Then we go on to Devil's Food and Black Widow, which flows perfectly. That's the same as on here. But not in the same spot. Completely in a different spot, you know? Like they jam I Never Cry. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I can't talk about this anymore. I understand why Alice made a fistful of Alice after not liking how this album turned out. However, I'm going to be completely honest. A Fistful of Alice has all the exact same complaints almost I make about this album. Few differences, but like it doesn't have the tempo increase, but it definitely has some issues with the song selection. All right, I'm done. It's over. I'm not saying anymore. Leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. Do you actually think this is a good album? Do you have a preferred track on here? Do you agree with me that the best track on here is the combination of the 3 tracks on here, even though I really have issues with it? Tell me what you think. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications. There's a link to Patreon below. Peace, love, take care.